personalities and what you see in the present is simply a reflection of the past. And you guys, you see this in the seminar with Midnight, where they have that huge blizzard in like the middle of the holiday season. Have been more bitter if he accused this lady, this author, of being a cannibal from New Guinea. And as he read this letter, he said to himself, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm not married to that woman. But most significantly, he was like, what could make this person so upset, so mad? And what she says next really kind of consolidates and brings together everything we've been working on, everything we've been talking about, into this one key concept of giving a ridiculous amount of value to other people using social situations. She says, chemical value of sympathizing and neutralizing the acid of hard feelings, which is not where you want to be, right? You want to be happy. So he actually wrote an entire book about his ethics and his services and everything he's doing in the White House. And Taft, he writes about this lady in Washington whose husband had some political influence and came and labored for him for 6 weeks or so to appoint her son to a position. And she secured the aid of senators and congressmen, and a formidable number actually came and spoke with them about this emphasis and about talking about this. And this place was one that required a very technical qualification. And following the recommendation of the head of the bureau, he appointed somebody besides this lady's son to run this position, which was a really important position. And then he received a letter from the mother saying that she was most ungrateful since Taft declined to make her a happy woman as he could have by giving his son the job with the turn of a hand. And she complained further that she had labored with the state delegation and got all the votes for an administration bill in which Taft was really interested in. And this is the way that he rewarded her. And basically she was complaining, she was arguing, she was upset, she was sad, she was distraught, and her son didn't really have the job he wanted, and it was sad for her. She was crushed. People will do really weird things when they feel like they don't have a feeling of significance. And so with this example, when you get a letter like this idea is like, the first thing you want to do is think about how you can be of service, what you can do with this severe of a person who's committed sort of, this, rudeness, and then say like, hey, how do you answer this? And if you're wise, you put together, this angry letter and you lock it in a drawer and you never send it. And you take it out in a course of 2 days and you sort of look at what it says 2 days later. And this is a pretty powerful strategy, like especially if you're working on any kind of important response or important letter or important message to somebody. Like take whatever you're gonna send them and then put it away in a drawer for like 2 days. And then 2 days later, you take it out and then say, hey, does this really look like something I want to send? And if it does, great, go ahead and send it. If it makes sense and if it aligns with your principles and your core and your foundation, then go right ahead, right? It's the same thing with really kind of any major purchase decision. Like think about, do I really want this? And if so, are you gonna still want it in 2 days? Of course you're still gonna want it in 2 days. And 2 days is not a big deal, especially when, at the time, letters took like 2 weeks to go anywhere. And so you just wanna give it a little bit of time, and you wanna care, but not that much. And when you don't care that much, what it allows you to do is inject time into your decision-making process so you can take action, do the steps you need to do, and then put it off for a couple of days, let emotions clear away, and instead be able to focus exclusively on logic. And then once, and then the time frame is different for everybody. For some people it's 2 seconds, for some people it's 2 weeks. But you need to be in a state of total logic when you're making your important decisions so that you're looking at it objectively instead of making a decision that you might regret once your emotions cool off later on, right? Does that make sense? This is like critical with investing, right? Like you cannot invest on emotion, you will get screwed. It's not even a question, it's a matter of fact. And so you've got to figure out a way. I mean, this is something you'll get really good at if you start to trade actively, to sort of dissociate those emotions from the underlying decision-making process. Very powerful concept and really important. So here's the cool thing, okay? After this happens, they take it out and this guy looks at it, Taft looks at it, and he realizes that he's definitely not gonna send this. After he looks at it, it just was crazy. And he sat there and he decided that he was gonna write a polite letter instead, telling her that he realized the mother's disappointment under the circumstances, and he was disappointed too, but in reality the appointment was left not to his personal preference, and instead he just had to pick somebody that had the technical qualifications, and therefore he had to follow the recommendations of the head of the bureau. And so he says, look, I'm sorry, this was the decision-making process. You don't want to blame other people, you want to take full responsibility, but you just want to let people know like why you made the decision that you made, and that'll make them a little bit happier, usually. And so express, hey look, I really hope your son goes on to accomplish what he hoped for and has his dream position, and just has an amazing time, absolutely crushes it. And that mollified, it made her a little bit happier, and she wrote a note that was saying that she was sorry she had written as she had, because he responded to her negativity. He responded to her criticism. He responded to her destructive personality and her destructive words with a positive, happy, growth-oriented message. And he appreciated her. That's the key. That's the foundation. That's the core. You have to respond to anything positively if you want to have overarching growth in all of the connections and relationships in your life. It's massive. It's huge. And it'll inspire others to respond positively to you rather than going, I remember I was dealing with this struggle. I really had a problem with this when I was growing up. It was awful. It really crushed so many years of my growth. I would have these arguments with my mom or my brother, and we'd have this, one person would go down, and there'd be like this argument, and then the next person would go down, there'd be this argument, and then I would go down, and there'd be this argument, and the next person would go down, and there'd be this argument, and there'd be another argument, another argument, another argument. And it was this downward spiral. It was like this downward torpedo. It would go down and 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 down, and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. These connections, these relationships were destroyed temporarily and severely hurt because of this idea of a downward spiral. And this is exactly what can happen if you start to argue with other people. They start the argument, you continue it. They continue it, you continue it. And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse over time. And that is not the way to live. That is not the way to be. That's not how you want to progress through life. Instead, you want to break out of this loop very early on. And instead say, look, I know that you did this thing that was kind of mean, that's okay. I'm going to go up. And then you're going to inspire the other person to go up. And then they're going to inspire you to go up. And then you're going to have this overarching growth that is so much more powerful than the downward spiral that you used to be in, that you've now escaped and you've flown out of. This concept changed everything. It's huge. It's massive. My relationships went all the way down here. They were terrible. So I realized you can actually work towards it, make better decisions, and have amazing, awesome results by simply reacting not with negativity, but instead with positivity, even if people are mean to you. It doesn't matter. Suck it up, take the short-term pain, work towards the long-term gain of having a positive response every single time. It's really powerful. Now, what's cool is, after this, the appointment that he sent in was not confirmed at once, and after an interval, he received a letter which purported to come from the husband, and this lady is still sort of trying to get her son in this position. And this is kind of where the crazy lady stuff comes out, and this is something you're gonna have to probably deal with eventually at one point. This idea that it was the same handwriting as all the other ones, which is the same handwriting as this lady, but it was in this letter basically. She wrote that due to the nervousness that was caused by the disappointment in her son not getting the job, she had to take to her bed and develop the most serious case of cancer in the stomach. Which is she said, you gave me cancer, which is pretty harsh. And so because of this, she said, would President Taft not restore her to health by withdrawing the first name and replacing it with her son's? And so he had to write her another letter. This one was addressed to the husband, even though it was the same handwriting, and basically say that she hoped the diagnosis would prove to be inaccurate, and that he sympathized with them, and he was so sorry, and he couldn't believe the illness, and he feels so bad about it, that it was impossible to withdraw the name once it was sent in. And the man who was appointed was confirmed, and within 2 days after, he gave a musical and a big party to celebrate him actually, getting this position. And what's so berserk is that 2 days ago, this lady had cancer and she couldn't get out of bed because of how hurt she was over her son. And 2 days later, at this giant party, the first two people to greet the president, Mr. Taft, or Mrs. Taft and him, at this party was the husband and the wife who had been so recently had cancer and been stuck in her bed. And she was there, happy, lively, excited, ready to go to this big party. These people freaking will do crazy things to get what they want. I've seen some really, some messed up stories. And I don't wanna focus on them because I focusing on negativity is really bad. And so I'll tell you guys, I just hate negative energies. If I tell you a negative story, it'll spread negative energy, and that's not good. And so it's so critical that you understand that people will do really weird, messed up stuff to get what they want. Sometimes maybe it's money, sometimes it's status, sometimes it's a position in a government. It just depends on the person, but you have to look past the person's actions, look past maybe some temporary short-term deviance and mean things that they're doing, and understand where they're coming from. There's this one homeless guy, and he pretty aggressively was trying to get I'm just sitting in my car, and I just really don't like talking about negative things, and it's really tough for me to talk about negative things because negative things are really bad. And so I'm here on this date, and in this parking lot, he just like knocks on my window and he's like, hey, do you have any money? And he spends like 20 minutes talking to me about Mother's Day, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to walk away because I know if I like walk or if I drive away, like I'm afraid this guy's gonna like scrape my car, and like, it's a tough place to be in. And you know, we're going through this process, and I'm like, dude, it's crazy that you will spend your time, waste my time, destroy the value of the happy evening that was, so that you can get like 40 cents to go get cigarettes. That's insane. Yet people will go to the ends of the bounds of their personalities and of their actions and of their abilities to get what they want. And so it's really, really critical that you understand where they're coming from, because if you understand where someone's coming from, you understand their background and their past, it's gonna allow you to much better and more accurately predict and most significantly kind of shift the perspective that you have about their current actions, you know? I don't know anything about this homeless guy. I've never seen him again, thankfully, because you know, you just don't see those people again. And in reality, and in reality, I mean, there's a really, really high chance that, you know, a lot of the story he told me was just total bogus, complete lie. You know, he's like, oh, my wife's at home and he's got the kids and it's harsh because, like, I don't know that person's past. I don't know where they're coming from. And if you don't know where someone's coming from, it's very difficult to understand how they got to where they are. And that's why I try to share with you guys a lot of my origin stories, especially about investing, because investing is something that can change so many millions of people's lives, and it's like, that's the key, that's the foundation, that's the core. And like I don't think that comes across effectively unless you understand where I'm coming from, unless you understand the past, understand someone's history. You know, like if you really get where someone's coming from, the epiphany they had to get to where they are, it's so much easier to connect with them. And people will do super messed up stuff. And so here's this example of this guy. Like, I didn't know his past. I don't know his past. I don't know like why he was there like out late at night trying to scout money for cigarettes, which is just bogus. But I do understand that like that guy was totally lying about all this crap about like Mother's Day, and it was so hard. And so it's critical as you come into situations, you don't fall into that trap, not knowing what's going on. You don't fall into that difficulty, that challenge of having completely blind view of somebody. Instead, you want to really understand their history and their past and their actions by spending, and here's a really good thing because you can combine this with what you've been learning earlier. You want to spend like the first 5 hours that you have in a relationship with somebody, just learning about them, learning about their history, learning about where they're coming from. And what this does is it not only allows you to understand their principles and where they're, you know, why they take the actions that they take, but most significantly, or also really important, these are both huge, it lets them talk about themselves, and you can add a ton of value to their lives just by listening to them. And at the same time, they're like actually expressing themselves. They feel amazing. They feel phenomenal because they have somebody that will listen to them. And if you make this little investment at the beginning of your relationship with anyone, or at the beginning of a relationship asset, it will grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow to be so much more than any kind of connection could ever be if you didn't understand somebody. And I've kind of been through these struggles, and there's just one really great story, and I really want to go through this and then share it with you. But it's also so critical that you guys understand the importance of getting where people are coming from. I remember my roommate, Alex, cool, crazy guy, he's awesome. You guys might have seen him in some of the stock trading videos. He's you know, he's like, his family's in Boston, and everything, you know, he's got is from Boston. And so I spent like the first 2 hours of our relationship kind of learning, asking about him. And there just wasn't that much to dive into. You know, he likes violin and stuff, but like it's just like, you know, it's like mechanical, it's like engineering and stuff. And what happened is about a week ago, you know, it's sort of the end of this semester, and you know, we've been together for months, and obviously, you know, it's just like roommate level connections. But the really critical and important part here is I learned that he is from Brazil. He's from Brazil. Like, what? And he's talking to me about how, like, when he was a kid, he was working in, like, coal mine. And I'm like, holy crap, what? And, like, if I understood that and I knew that months ago, it would have changed the entire course of that relationship and that connection. And so it's so critical that you put the time in up front to understand where people are coming from. Because if you don't, and if you wait, like, 2 or 3 months into a relationship with somebody, then you learn they're from Brazil? Like, there's just, you've passed the opportunity. You've passed a good chunk of the chance to really form an intimate connection with them, which is harsh and it sucks. So hopefully I'll be able to right that wrong soon and be able to form deeper connections.